So you're at a feast. You've just watched 20 kids under the age of 25 do this trick. How many of them do you think know that you did it first?
Maybe none.
So we were just watching the 2006 Cleveland Dew Tour highlights. And I remember that contest because I remember you did a cork 720 there, and I'd never seen anything like it before. And I think everybody else that was there said the same thing, other than those that were at Woodward when you were learning it.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you brought it out?
It was the first time I did it at a contest. I want to say I had learned it a couple weeks before. And back then, like, you learned something, you tried to get it dialed quick, and you brought it to the next event. We always had, there was no Instagram, so it was the moment to show it and kind of claim it. So
we're watching this video, and it's kind of funny because there's all these crazy riding. The second to last trick is Dave Mira doing the 360 no-handed flip. And then the ender, this like 6-minute video builds up to a cork 7 on the box. And at the time it made sense. But looking back, it looks so silly because that's a trick we see every single day.
Yeah.
When you learned it, did it seem like this is a banger? Or for you, was it like, this is easy?
I am trying to think. I learned it. It took me about like 8 to 10 tries in the foam. Because I kept over-rotating, and then once I started landing straight, I think I might have gone to lunch, came back, tried one in the foam, landed perfect. I just went straight to the race, did like 2, and I just went straight to the box jump. And that was it. Like from then on, it felt easy. I think everybody that's tried 720s, they know the struggle, like you learn it and then you lose it pretty soon after. It feels really good for some time, and then you lose it. I had that happen many, many times. And once I learned it this way, it just didn't seem like I could lose it again.
So how exactly did you start doing it this way? Because when you haven't seen that before, it doesn't really make sense. Was it simple? Was it like a pole, like a flare? Or was it an accident? Like, how did you start thinking, normally a 7's like this, but let's go off axis? Where did that come from?
I think it started with a conversation with Ryan Goodler. We were talking about doing a slow 360 to a quick 360. And I want to say he might have tried something, it didn't really work out. And then I used to dip my 3s on the spine a lot. So I think that's kind of what got me to do it. I would try to do the same thing. And once I felt like I was going to over-rotate, I would pencil up and try to come around. So like, it is hard to explain in the sense of like, I would spin 180 and I would look at the lip almost like a Reuben wall ride. And then once I felt like my tail was over-rotating, I would try to like twist and turn around so I could get the second 360. And it felt somewhat natural. The only problem I had at the beginning was over-rotating, but once I learned how to fix that, then it was just really easy to I had like points of reference in the air, which made it kind of easier than, regular 7s.
So I know I've seen you do both. Now that you have essentially mastered the cork 7, I hope you've mastered it because we're many, many years into this venture. Can you still do a normal 7?
No, I don't think I could. I can do it like 5 taps and stuff like that, but at one point I did do regular 7s, and then corked, but yeah, I don't know, it changed. And then I could maybe do like a 7 whip, that would be very flat. But once I take the whip out of the equation, I start corking.
So I know one thing that confuses a lot of people, myself included, and it's become a very, very, very fine line, is what is the difference between a cork 7 and a 3 flip? And when you see 2 proper ones, you see the difference.
Yeah, and there was a time I used to try or do a lot of 360 flips, and I stopped because I realized that neither the judges or the announcers would see the difference. And it was frustrating because to me a 360 flip is way harder. Just because when you do a little bit of the flip, you don't have distance. Like, it's really difficult to clear distance. It might be, and I think guys are a bit more comfortable now, but it was like a hawk back then. Like when you see Dave do the 360 flip no-hander, you can see that, he cased all the first few that he ever did, he cased them. You can tell the difference. On the 3 flip, you will see the flip part, and then the twist, you're more like penciled up, while on the 7, there's a couple spots that you're more open. You still pencil, but you will probably have guys that do like a weird in between. But yes, if you're definitely paying attention, you'll see the difference between both.
So it was 2006. You did the first ever cork 7. Who's the first guy that stole it from you? I'll tell you.
It was 07. It was 07.
07, I'm sorry. I'll tell you who I saw it do first, but I want you to say it first.
Who was I? Dude, that's a good question. For a while, it was just me, but no idea.
I think the first person I saw do it, I could be way off because the era doesn't line up. I want to say Colton Satterfield.
No, I want to say guys did it before. I want to say Brandon Dosh might have done it way before. Yeah, that's a good question. And I know, like, within that year, a couple people started doing it. Like, I think Dave was a quick learner, and I think he started doing cork sevens because he always had issues doing his regular seven no-handers. So he learned how to cork them. But yeah, it was weird because you still had guys doing sevens, but they weren't, like, as corked. Like, learning that cork, it was something really weird at the time. And also another thing that happened, Stephen Murray, he would do 360 flips. And it's crazy because the first sequence we took, like the day I learned it, I think we shot it. And in the photo, it looked like what Steven used to do. But going back and watching his videos, yeah, he would like flip and then twist so you can see the difference. And, you know, it is hard to say who would have been the second. It's
a complicated situation because there's a good chance you didn't do it first.
There is, yeah.
That was pre-internet. We just, you know.
Yeah. And I think that there was a discussion about Stevens with his three flip. But yeah, he would like, you can see his flip and how he would like turn and then he would start doing them look downs, which that gave me the idea to try the cork 7 look down. And I think I did Cleveland, regular cork, and then Exons was a couple weeks later, and I did the regular, or the cork turn down. Which wasn't that good, but
gonna say,
it counted. But it counted. But it's 2007, man. Those turndowns counted.
Mike Spinner. So the first trick you learned was a turn down in there, a turn down.
Yeah.
What was next? No hander, can.
No, I think I didn't learn combos for a minute, and then I started doing 7 whip, 7 bar, 7 X up. And then 7 tuck. But the first 3 weren't really corked. I think the tuck is what I started actually doing in the cork 7. Because to me, doing the other 7s was just over-rotate a 3. So like if I were to 7 bar, I would like try to over-rotate a truck. And once I felt the tail spinning, I would like pencil up to come around, but I couldn't really get in that position. I did pursue a lot of that towards the end of that year. But I think at the beginning, it was like I learned at contest, have a couple of weeks, X-Games, and you know, that era you had a dew tour or something crazy every couple of weeks.
What about the spine? How long after the box did you bring it to a spine?
Oh man, it had to be in 2008. Or either the end of 07 or the beginning of 08. And yeah, at that point, it didn't really feel that difficult. I remember I would show up at dew tours and these courses were massive. The boxes were kind of crazy. And I got to a point that my first trick I will air and just go straight to that, you know. And it was crazy because it would kind of intimidate everyone. Like I started with the hardest trick of the time. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I know in 2008 I was doing cork 7s on the spines at dew tour. So I had to be somewhere in between.
When this all started, when you first started doing this trick, when it was new, when everybody was excited, did you kind of know, like, everybody's going to start doing this? Like, how difficult this is in relation to how cool it looks? This time in 2 years, it's going to be something everybody does? Or did you think you figured something secret out?
A different era. People didn't copy tricks as much as now. Like, now you posted the bar spin now, and 30 minutes later, there's 10 guys doing it. That didn't really happen then. And I want to say people did stay away from the cork 7 for a while. Even Scotty, he would, like, 3 flip. He wouldn't cork 7. So yeah, I didn't really think that people would like go after it, but yeah, eventually I think Dhers, I remember Brandon doing it, and I remember him being almost like the first guy that was doing it, but he was doing it on Dhers, so it wasn't like, there wasn't like a direct thread, let's say. But yeah, it was crazy how then all of a sudden it became the norm, you know, that's how people 7 these days. There's no one does the like weird pivot 7 anymore. Like if you do that, you're already, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing.
So you're at a feast, you've just watched 20 kids under the age of 25 do this trick. How many of them do you think know that you did it first?
Maybe none, maybe 1 or 2 kids, but imagine like if this was 2007, it's so long ago, like I think kids don't really watch history anymore, you know. It's crazy, like I'll have random kids here and there, and someone will be like, oh, you invented the cash run, and kids will be like, really? Like, you know, it's kind of, I don't think kids really know, but yeah, maybe some of the combos they might, but not the actual cork 7.
So we're about, 13 years into this. is the Cork 10 next, or are you long since done?
I did try them a lot around 08 or 09, and they were just really scary. And like I would come around, I would actually over-rotate more than I could control. So I remember I tried a few in the race, and they always felt crazy. So like I basically gave up on it. And at the time, spinner used to 10. So it was like, okay, that's his trick. And again, we go back to that, like you kind of had respect for what other people were doing. So like spinner with 10, I say, okay, I'll do cork 7 variations. And that's when I started doing like the 7 bar, like the 7 bar and 7 bar tuck and like all those random like 7 bar can. A lot of 7 bar combos, but that was kind of like my thing. If I went to the contests, I did the same thing the other guy was doing, then I wasn't going to stand out. Not that his 10s were corked, but they were pretty good.
Well, and you kind of owned the trick back then.
Yeah.
It was weird, but you know, even with Dave doing the 3 no-hander flip, you guys kind of had their trick, and if you did it, I don't know where this went, but if you did it, you were doing his trick.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Good old days.
I know.
What do you care to add here?
Do
you want a paycheck from everybody that does this, or like
that would be nice if you get royalties, because it's a trick that transcended into mountain bike and so on and so on. But yeah, no, it's kind of cool to see that it became the norm. That's the way people 7, which I think is the most effective way to 7. Really, if you do the pencil one, it's like you're most likely gonna lose powder. And it's insane because like, when I see people 7 bar, that's the closest I see people getting, to looping out. So it's good to see that people even learn those tricks that were very difficult at the time to be corked,
Well, here we are now, and everybody can do it, and nobody cares.
I know, but thank you guys for stealing my trick.